Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for a very special interview. Please let us know in the comments where you're joining in from, and hello to everyone watching on the replay as well. I'm Stephanie Taliaferro, representing the Hope for ATRT Foundation. Hope for ATRT is a research entity focused on directing research and resources to families in the fight against ATRT. And joining us today is Lisa Ward. Lisa is the mother of DIPG fighter Jace Ward and co-founder of Tough2gether Against DIPG DMG. Lisa is a powerful and inspirational speaker. She's an advocate in the DIPG community and for all pediatric cancers. And we are beyond honored for her to share with us today. So welcome, Lisa. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I have so much love and respect for Hope for ATRT. We are all in this together, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's just start with getting to know you and your family a little bit and your incredible son.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, we live in Wamego, Kansas, just outside of Manhattan. If there are college sport advocate or people who love college sports enthusiasts, there we go, out there. We are really close to Kansas State University. And in fact, that's where our three kids, Blake, Brooke, and Jace, all graduated from. And my husband and I grew up. So we have an oldest son, Blake, who's married with a little one, a daughter, Brooke, who's 25, and then Jace lives in heaven now, and he would be 23. He was a junior at Kansas State University when he had just a little bit of change in the peripheral of his vision and went into an optometrist, actually took my eye doctor appointment. And the eye doctor said, I don't think it's anything with your vision. I think you need to have a CT. And so he did, and an MRI. And then we stood in a neurosurgeon's office, and they said, as many on this call have maybe experienced, what you have is an inoperable aggressive brain tumor. It's not a matter of if it will kill you, but a matter of when. And Jay said, I know you're the best in Kansas City. My mom made sure of it. How long do I have to live? And the doctor paused, and he said, no, I'm not afraid to die. I know where I'm going. I just want to make an impact before I do. And we went on to learn that DIPG is one of the deadliest cancers. It affects more children than probably any other disease as far as taking their life right now. And it is still considered 100% incurable with no new treatment for 60 years. So everything we have are clinical trials in that phase 1 and maybe 1 in a phase 2 stage. But we always say we're coming for you, DIPG, and we're bringing an army. And Jace fought for 25 months, so outlived his life expectancy and participated in a CAR T-cell trial at Stanford. So even though as patient number 2, we sort of had an idea it may not save him, he felt like it was so important to tell the doctors everything he could. It pained him to think about a mother of a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old having to make a decision like that. And for little ones having to go through something, if he could do it and, if they could curb the side effects or make it a little bit more easily tolerated before the next kids. And I'm pleased to say number 007, the 7th on the trial, Mary Stegmuller, she is exactly what he wanted. She's starting first grade. She was using a wheelchair some when we met her. Now she's playing on the jungle gym, splashing on the splash pads, hanging from trees. I can't say her tumor is all the way gone, but it is holding steady, and it's been more than 2 years. So that's amazing. Patient number 6 has a spinal cord tumor in treatment over a year, doing well, and there are others as well. So I think they've treated around 25, 26 patients, and maybe 6 or 7 have really good results. So we have a lot more to learn, but it did help Jay see gaps. gaps in treatment, gaps in getting to treatment. And I think the way he spoke out on those probably became the purpose and impact he wished to have.
That's amazing. That's so amazing that he could be that advocate even during treatment and stand up for all the other kids as well. So talk about Tough2gether Against DIPG DMG. How when during that time did this come about?
Yeah, so it really evolved from the first weekend he was diagnosed. When we got back home, we had so many family and friends that met us at the door, of course, tearfully crying. And Jace kind of flippantly would say, "You guys, I can't die. I'm busy. Don't worry about it. I can't die. I'm busy." And that became sort of a mantra for him that even at the end of his life, I think he would say, "No, I really cannot die. I'm too busy. I have too much to do for DIPG." And it really drove him forward. That first weekend, I said, "You know, Jace, a lot of times when something like this happens, families will do a GoFundMe because people want to know how they can help, and treatment's expensive and stuff. And, you know, we'll do everything we can, but would you be okay with that?" And he said, I don't really want the focus on me. Can we, you know, do it another way?" And I said, "We can try." I said, "Let's think about what we want it to look like." And he said, "We can do it as long as any dollar we don't have to use, we will use it for another family or for research." And so he knew in that very first weekend that this was bigger than him, and he wanted to make a difference more than would, you know, help in his own life. And then shortly, maybe within a couple of months, he met a little girl named Hadley Schmidt, who lives about an hour from us, who was in first grade and was also struggling with DIPG. And he just fell in love with Hadley. And so everything after that became, how do we make sure the 25-year-old mom with a 4-year-old gets the same kind of care as I did, because neither of them have learned to use their voice. And we can't expect somebody who just maybe finished college or maybe is raising a child in lieu of going to college, to be able to have access to enough credit to go clear across the country on a day's notice, to be able to rent a car even because of age, to be able to feel confident emailing, you know, world-renowned brain doctors, asking for special care, asking for special treatment. And that resonated with me too. I'm an attorney. He wanted to be an attorney. So in us, we have that, you know, that vein of wanting to help the next person and protect and advocate for the next person. And so for Jace, I think his impact became when he saw a gap, when he saw something that was not just, that was not inclusive, that was not efficient. He wanted to fix it. And if he didn't have time to slow down and fix it at that moment, he would say, "Mom, write this down. We have to fix this." And so really, even at the end of his life, he left me a to-do list. And which was quite funny because his whole life, he lived under the rule of legal pads. Like every morning when I would go to work in the summer, I would leave a legal pad of chores for he and his sister to do, and they hated it. And, you know, I was a terrible mom now that I think about it, but it was just efficient, you know?
Yeah.
So it was so funny. You know, he died of a brain bleed unexpectedly, but the day before, he had me write a list of what we needed to make sure and do when we got back to Kansas, and that became my first to-do list.
Oh, that's just beautiful.
Yeah. So Tough2gether Against DIPG, we focus on primarily DIPG, DMG, and local childhood cancer needs in our area in Northeast Kansas, because our neighbors, of course, are important to us too, and we're raising some of our funds locally, and so we want that to impact those that people locally would care about. But the real meat and potatoes of the organization is funding research, trial access, and then better use of data, better assimilation of data as well. And when we talk about trial access, that might be as much as, we could get a new trial off the ground with some private funding from foundations, or it might be there's a trial that seems to be working, but the requirements are so stringent that many kids aren't getting in. And that happened with Jace. He was 4 months too old to try a drug called ONC201. And others wrote an article and went to bat and said, give this kid a chance. Like, he's just 4 months too old and otherwise would qualify. And so they opened expanded access, let him do it, and then closed it the next day. We didn't know that at first, but when he found out, he said, I'm not going to take this anymore. I want you to give it to the next little kid who hasn't played football under the lights, who hasn't skipped school, who hasn't had a girlfriend. Like, I don't need it. I've had a good life. And I said, honey, I think it would be best for you to take it. And then we'll work with others and open access for more, because if you're feeling well, you can speak up louder and more articulately. And so that's exactly what happened. We brought others that weren't necessarily getting along or seeing eye to eye together in foundations, and funded about $700,000 to start ONC201 for many. And that continues today. The company supports that now. And I think there's been over 300 that have been treated on expanded access. So we know when there are good treatments that need to be funded, we need to be able to do that. And then as far as just, the research, there's so much we just don't know. And so a couple things along those lines. We're in Kansas, and we found out that a sweet girl, Jessica Schreiber, who was diagnosed about the same time as Jace. She was just finished high school. She was headed to play volleyball in Florida at a college. And when she was diagnosed, she used a local hospital that we would normally have used, University of Kansas. And she was just told, this is what you have. There's really nothing we can do except radiation, and you should go home and make memories. And I think was even told by her radiologist that even the radiation is just creating speed bumps on an otherwise pretty straight highway to terminal condition. And that just felt like no hope, right? Like no opportunity to get the days right, in some ways. And, early on, Josh Allen, who created ONC201, I remember said to Jace in the most caring way, like, Jace, I remember when my mom was sick, and I remember what it was like when we had hope. And I remember the day it changed and we had no hope. And I guess if this drug can't save you, I hope it gives you the most days with hope it can possibly give you. And that's the way we look at it. We want families to be able to live with no regrets, regardless of the outcome, until there is a cure. And for us, that means if a family wants to pursue trials, we want them to have a way to get there financially and get home financially. So we fund in that category, in the gap. Usually there's enough airfare to get patients to a trial. There might be Airbnbs available, but we get the calls when they're in a trial and it doesn't work, and they need to fly across country home to maybe pass away close to their puppy. So, in that case, I'm so happy to just be able to give the doctor, here's the credit card, use it. I'll call some other foundations and have them come in and help us on the backside. And we do that often. And then we knew being educated about trials had made all the difference for us. I was staying up all night reading clinicaltrials.gov, trying to find the best trial. And when we got the news, it was through a Zoom call, what his mutations were. And he said to the doctor, okay, so which clinical trial should I do? Which one would be the best for my mutations? And, the doctor just said, well, I think we should go to clinicaltrials.gov, see what's out there, see if there's an area in the country that you'd like to spend some time in, and try it, because we just don't know what works and what doesn't. To which Jace said, I didn't need a travel agent. I needed somebody who knew this stuff. And the answer is we may not know, but being able to have the best opinions weigh in on your case, I think matters so much to a parent or a young adult facing this. And Jace had that through kind of an ad hoc national tumor board. So he decided in COVID pandemic days, why don't we just ask the best 7 or 8 doctors we know to jump on a Zoom call? And on the Zoom call, we'll just ask them, like, hey, you've got all my records. What would you do if I was your kid? And we'll let them talk about it, and whatever they decide is what I'll do. And it sounded really simple after staying up all night reading trials and Googling words and brain terms. And it really gave me so much comfort that we had 2 options. He was able to ask all the questions, as would I. They weren't all from the same camp. There were differing opinions from the board, so we got to explore those. And so knowing how special that was this spring, after he passed, I said we need to go forward and form that National Tumor Board. So could we have done it with 2 or 3 foundations? Yes. But instead, I ambitiously thought, let me see how many foundations would put in $5,000 or $10,000 for what it would cost several $100,000 to fund this tumor board. And then we'll ask if they'll stick around and fund grants together. So that became the DIPG DMG Research Funding Alliance. And the first project it funded was a national DIPG DMG tumor board. And so truly, the legacy of over 60 kids, I think I once counted at least 86 kids, is represented in the funding of this. Families that have been where the next family is and knows there was a better way and that this is part of it. So we're all very, very proud. We say that the Alliance is powered by families because lives depend on it. And we know that firsthand.
Wow. What an impact and a legacy in such a short amount of time. I mean, what all you've been able to accomplish, especially during the pandemic. I mean, it's incredible to hear the stories and to hear the power behind all that.
Well, nothing is anything Jace and I did by ourselves. Let me first say that. I always say our only superpower might be I know a guy who knows a guy, and that's only because we ask a lot of questions. But definitely, you know, inherent to our core is to connect, question, collaborate for a cure. And everything we do, it seems to have a little army involved. And we're proud of that because we think people have different gifts. And we honestly want to bring everybody to the table or join a table others are at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's definitely power in that collaboration and that partnership. And I can't wait to see, you know, what the next steps are for this. It's really encouraging.
Well, I could give you a sneak peek. So if you come to the Brainstorm Summit, which is Friday, September 23rd and Saturday, September 24th, part of CureFest events, and it's the first year we're having it. And it's a group of wonderful sponsors. The presenting sponsors are Day One Pharmaceutical, Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation, Chad Tough DIPG, us, Storm the Heavens, and Arms Wide Open, Childhood Cancer Foundation. So those are the presenting sponsors, and there's about 30 other sponsors that have said, yes, we're in. So we're doing a whole day that starts with outgoing NCI Director Ned Sharpless talking about where should we go next and lessons learned. It goes into advanced therapies, things like rice-sized robots that can navigate into the midbrain and deliver payloads of chemotherapy or radiation sensitizers, places that we can't get to on our own. It'll talk about sonodynamic therapy. We just treated the first patient with sono waves therapy and an amino acid, and we're just waiting on bated breath to see what the results might be in the next couple of weeks, and focused ultrasound and immunology. And then we do a session on alternative therapies, and we get into, does diet matter? What about CBD? What about THC? Because as brain tumor families, all of that's thrown at us all the time. And we want to know, like, is it the right thing to do? Is it not? When could it cause more harm than good? When could it cause more good than harm? So we go into that. And then different clinical trials for the pediatric tumor types. We go over how the tumor board works for DIPG. And then we get to a luncheon that I'm super excited about, Stephanie, because it starts with families who had to petition the FDA for the opportunity to biopsy their child, knowing it would not help their child, but the information learned could help research and help the next. And, I think about what that took for a mom to say, to kind of stand in judgment, right, with the FDA and say, it is my child, and to the extent it causes harm, I'm doing it for all the kids that come after him because I can't save my own. And so we pay tribute to that, and those that donated post-mortem and continue to give us, the background, the tissue, so that we can learn. And then we go into what that means when you put that data together in a centralized database like Children's Brain Tumor Network, and what it would look like to support that at commercial scale, and some of the success stories doctors have had. And so to finish off that luncheon, we have a big, big, big announcement, and it involves Amazon Web Services. It involves Emerson Collective, the son of Steve Jobs, Reed Jobs, who does a fantastic job in their cancer division. And it involves friends that are willing to invest in our kids in a way we have never had that investment in pediatric brain cancer. So I hope if you can't be there in person, all of you will tune in. And, I feel like a new day is dawning. And the goal really is, by the end of next year, if you hear my kid has DIPG, you'll know the best test to get immediately. You'll get into that brain tumor board. All of your child's data will be compared to everything we've known in the past, and a dashboard will be available to your provider that shows, here are articles that reflect these mutations, here are trials that reflect these mutations, and here's the best you can know, whether you're in Topeka, Kansas, or a center of excellence. So prayerfully, that's where we want to head on that, and we'd love for you guys to be there.
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic. So yes, that's at CureFest. That's coming up the weekend of September 23rd, 24th. Yeah. And if you don't know about it, obviously we've got some links circling. We'll make sure to put them in here as well. CureFest as a whole is a great weekend filled with powerful messages and connecting and partnering with groups all over the country. It's located in Washington, D.C. And this brainstorm summit that Lisa's talking about is going to be incredible. Brainstormsummit.com. You can register for that. I'll make sure all the links are there as well. But let us know if you have any questions, if you want to get connected, if you're not going to be able to be there and you want to learn more about what Lisa's doing. We'll make sure to, keep following her and spreading the word about all the amazing things that they're doing. Partnering with different organizations, again, across the country and even globally to really make an impact. Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing today, letting us get to know you and your family, and
absolutely
being a champion for these families.
Oh, thank you. And you guys are probably working on things out in the audience that we don't know about. So, make sure anytime you want to connect, it's just tough2gether.org. So you'll see our email and stuff, and we'd love to visit with you about opportunities. And at CureFest, there's things for kids, there's stuff for teens, and there's a candlelight vigil and shoe memorial for bereaved families too. So we want everyone to feel super included.
Absolutely. Any other ways that our community can get involved, Lisa?
Well, definitely opportunities coming out of CureFest. So, we're so closely tied in so much of what we do. I think there are additional webinars that are coming out. There is a bereaved siblings group that is stemming from it, with a couple of the groups that will have young adults be involved. And, so many times we hear, gosh, my kids don't want to do any more therapy. And I can understand that. So this will feel really different. That's important to the group. And then just some mom Zoom time too. So we have some chat groups in the DIPG community we started this year. And I think we're ready to kind of break those apart and expand them a little bit more into other areas to just be available to other tumor types too.
That's great. Thank you so much, Lisa. Have a great day. And we look forward to just continuing to hear all the good work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate everything you do.
Absolutely. Thank you all for watching. Share, get this message out, and everyone just continue doing the good work that you're doing. Have a great day.